Jeff, how's it going?
Hey, good, Brian. How
Yeah,
about you today?
I'm doing great. I'm ready to get it on because we had another topic scheduled for today, and one of these old things from our past reared its ugly head yet again. So we're going live today to finally, well, hopefully finally put a nail in the coffin on this stupid study, all this stuff that's been drugged back up from years ago. So anyway, that is a precursor. I'm going to turn it over to you. So what's going on?
Let's just bust some myths. We got to go back years and years and years ago when I first introduced KreAlkalyn. So it was 2001. It was at the Anaheim Expo West show. We were just a little company then, and here I was with a little 10-foot booth with a banner up saying, world's only stable creatine. And we were doing that dog and pony. People were coming up. They were going crazy. I had these nice research books printed up. And a gentleman come up and with a British accent and said, "I'm Dr. Harris. You cannot do this stabilized creatine. I've been working with creatine for, 100 years or whatever. And it can't be done." And he grabs my book and he runs off. So I'm like, well, I don't know who that dude was. Show went on. We continued to talk to people. People were so excited and interested. And, in these shows, they say the show is now closing and they start to dim the lights. Well, this gentleman came back and I'm like, oh boy, I'm too tired to fight, And he goes, "I got to apologize. You did it. I've been working on this for, 30 years and you figured out how to stabilize creatine. Congratulations." And he walked away.
Wow.
And
what year was this again?
That was like 2001. I want to say it was, what was that expo? Somewhere like March or something. I think I just got the patent pending in February. So literally it was like the next month and, we were there.
Well, and just to help set the stage for that, Dr. Roger Harris, I remember if you go back and look at some of the original creatine research from the 90s era, his name is all over those things, Roger Harris.
Oh yeah, he's a big time, very, I admire the guy. I mean, he's done more research on creatine over the years than anybody. And the interesting thing is he had a patent on a liquid creatine, and I think he stabilized it something like 45%. And why he was mad, because Twin Lab, he had sold the rights to the USA or something to Twin Lab, and they were over in my booth going, "Hey, wait a minute. Some dude saying he stabilized it 100%. And that's why he got so mad, because I think they canceled the order and were, discussing with us or something. But anyhow, that's kind of where it started. And we're going to kind of allude to this, this little nasty little garter snake that raised its head. We got to fast forward a few years, and we were at, was it the Anaheim show again?
Anaheim. Yep, it was Anaheim.
And a gentleman by the young guy named Mark Talon came up and started reaming us about,
you're yelling at me.
First he yelled at you, and then he come and, wanted to sit down and debate with me about your research is fake. You can't stabilize creatine. Creatinine is safe. I'm going to come out with a product. And I think we just kind of, said, well, sorry, I'm not going to argue with your debate. It is what it is. We got a patent on it. And by then we already had our first patent, and we had several other patents pending. About a year later, maybe, him and a gentleman named Robert Childs published some research that appeared in the ISSN. And I knew he hadn't done it, because there was no way in a short amount of time that he did all these clinical trials. So we basically went to the ISN and said, "Hey, you need to give us this research. You published this paper, and we don't think it's true. I don't think anybody did this." They kind of blew it off, going, "Oh, well, we don't have nothing to do with publishing. We just publish." And I'm like, "Well, aren't you guys supposed to peer review? It's peer-reviewed research. All you did was publish, a paragraph, and you took the guy's word for it." And again, they sort of blew us off. So we went to Mark Talon and Robert Childs and asked for retraction. They arrogantly refused. So we sued them all. And make a long story short, I think we won a $9.5 million judgment against them. And ISN finally retracted that and took it out.
Right. Exactly right.
Then,
yes,
we started to, then we continue on with the saga. And the KreaPure guys out of Germany, they didn't like the fact that KreAlkalyn was taken off like gangbusters. I mean, we were taking over the creatine market in the USA. If you remember, we had all these magazines that were writing, articles about, the stability. I mean, we were getting backed by, Muscle Mag, Flex,
Iron Man,
John Malick, Iron Man.
5-page interview with you.
Yeah, interviews right and left, because again, they understood the research and they appreciated that we had developed some new science, by stabilizing creatine. Well, Allschems, I think that's who they were at the time, didn't like us.
Degussa, and they changed.
Degussa, okay. Then it was Allschems, I don't know. Anyhow, KreaPure Germany, they tried to go after us in Germany, saying everything was fake. And when we went to the first FIBO, we completely turned it upside down. We had research books in German, French, Italian, Spanish, and everybody was going crazy. The next year we went and we showed up, and what happened?
Oh, they put a gag order on us, and they put a booth literally right next to ours, like gigantic.
Yep, we had a lawsuit come in for a gag order that we weren't allowed to talk about them. It was 2008. We weren't allowed to talk about them. Well, yeah, we didn't care about them. Well, at that time, they were now trying to infringe on our patent with their Creator. What was that called?
Yeah, I kind of put it out of my head because it was so dumb.
Triple buffered or something.
Yeah, it was triple buffered. That's right.
And again, I could care less. We were just there promoting KreAlkalyn. I figured, well, the attorneys can deal with any patent infringement. And remember, we would step outside the booth and the show police would come and threaten us that they were going to kick us out. Yet yes, they were coming in front of our booth, harassing us. Yes. And the saga continues. ISSN 2012 publishes a study, which is the little snake that reared its head again, or the barking dog, as I call it. Barking dog, if you've ever been folks driving down the road and you drive by a house and you hear this dog, yip, 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 and you look in the rear view window and he's still going yip, 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 as you're driving by. So anyhow, they published another study claiming that they went head-to-head with KreAlkalyn against creatine. And what did it say? There was no difference, Brian? Or
it said essentially, well, this is what's funny, is essentially that standard good old-fashioned KreaPure, their brand, creatine monohydrate, non-buffered, actually outperformed KreAlkalyn, and that KreAlkalyn actually produced less results. But the huge flaw in the entire thing is KreAlkalyn is creatine monohydrate.
Exactly, it's 99.9%, and it was done by Texas A&M. So we saw this.
Yeah, but we went to the key line in there. Don't forget.
What's that?
Don't forget the key line in there, as it says in there, sponsored or basically by a grant from Allschem.
Well, that came after we went to Texas A&M and we said, hey, you guys published, so again, another study in ISSN, which a bunch of fake stuff as far as I'm concerned. And, you need to supply us with the research. Your university is public information. They came back with this long 10-page letter stating that, we don't have to give it to you and, yada, yada, we refuse. So we went to the DOJ because, again, this is criminal. You cannot publish research and then not present the data. You can't just put a paragraph. So we went to the Department of Justice in Texas, and they agreed with us, and they went to Texas A&M and said, no, you have 30 days to give all the research or else. Well, out of that, we found out, they then said, well, hey, look, Texas A&M, oh, we were just paid to publish or to do this work. It was a bigger study, and we had nothing to do with writing the article. And by the way, it was funded by the KreaPure guys. Oh, now wait a minute. That's a little biased. So then in a week later, the KreaPure guys, which I think was Allschem at the time.
Yeah, Allschem, yeah.
They sue the DOJ trying to block them from making Texas A&M give us the research. Can you imagine that? Somebody suing the Department of Justice? And the reason why is they knew that this research was fake, that it was a big study that they did with a lot of creatines, and they were just trying to make us look bad, and they never could supply any factual data. So again, we won that. We did get the data, and it was fake. You know, it was a large study that they were doing. It was very biased because they wanted CreaPure to look good. But at the end of the day, you know, KreAlkalyn is creatine monohydrate. All we did is we fixed the flaw of being unstable. So to say that it works just as good, oh, okay, that's your opinion. To say that it works better, that's fake. And as you remember, you know, back when we released, people were telling us this was a fad, it wasn't going to stay. You know, creatine is the king daddy. Well, KreAlkalyn is the #1 selling KreAlkalyn, or creatine. It has been in the USA for some time. We've taken over Europe. We're running rampant, you know, just about everywhere in the world. And here we are 20 years later. I don't know how long a fad lasts. Does it last 20 years?
That's a heck of a fad. I'll take it.
Yeah. And, you know, the fact is KreAlkalyn has more research on by any one company than anybody. And I've said this before, and people come out of the woodworks and go, oh, creatine has, you know, 200, 300, 5,000 studies. Yeah, by 5,000 different people. We're talking about published research, peer-reviewed, published in legitimate periodicals. What that means is they took our data, they took our research, they scrutinized it before they put their name on it. And then I give them the exclusive to basically release that information. So again, you know, we've done studies and, you know, we've shown that KreAlkalyn is stable. Folks have tried to knock it off. They've tried to infringe on the patent. You know, we've had numerous trademark infringements. But 20 years later, no one has figured out the technology, and they never will. And, you know, one of the other things that always arises, and it just arose the other day, one of our fans out there, Jesse, somebody posted, oh, it's just baking soda and creatine.
Yeah, explain why that's not the case.
Well, you know, back 20 years ago, when you wrote a patent, you could make it really vague. And our patent was basically taking creatine anywhere from 7 to 14.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we made it very vague because, again, I didn't want to give away the technology. And back then, you only had to give one example of how it could be made. Now, baking soda has got a pH, I believe, of about 9. So how are you going to get creatine monohydrate, pH 6.8, up to 14 using something that only has a pH of 9? Good luck. You ever tried drinking baking soda in a glass of water?
It's gross.
I mean, put a thumbnail in there and you're going to throw up. I mean, it's nasty. So again, you know, those are just, I hate to say ignorant people, but they're the people that don't matter. They're, you know, armchair quarterbacks that, you know, get on the internet, get on social media and try to, you know, show their intelligence, when really, to people who know what they're talking about, you're really showing your ignorance because you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they remind me of all these fact checkers that show up on Facebook and all these different social media outlets that are hired guns. In fact, here, let's just save people the trouble if they want to see what we're talking about. The study is actually called, I just looked up while you're talking, a buffered form of creatine does not promote greater changes in muscle creatine content, body composition, or training adaptations than creatine monohydrate. And it's by JAGIM. There's an Oliver, a Sanchez, Galvin. There's a bunch of names. But anyway, if you look up that title, it'll pop up in the search engine. This is the one that everyone likes to reference, telling everybody how stupid they are to use KreAlkalyn because this study debunked the whole thing and just blew it all apart.
Yet most of these people don't even use creatine. Again, you know, people just like to argue. It's like anything. When you're a success, a friend of mine told me a long time ago, matter of fact, it was Carl Lenore from Superhuman Radio, said somebody told him when he first got into broadcasting, when he had the first negative comment, he was all freaked out. And his friend said, you know what, you know, you're a success when you have negative comments.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have from day one. I mean, I was the one brought creatine to the marketplace. In the first place, people want to argue and debate that. They want to debate the stability. You know, if you remember in the beginning, everybody was saying creatine was stable, and then they finally had to accept my research. I was pointing to the Merck going, look, the Merck Index says it's not stable. Oh, the Merck is wrong. Now everybody's agreeing. And, you know, all these people have stole our 1.5 grams, no loading, no bloating, no side effects. I mean, it's kind of funny how we substantiated all that in our research, but they just kind of copied it. And again, 20 years later, if you've used KreAlkalyn, it works. I mean, and if you haven't, you need to try it. I mean, especially now where there's a shortage of creatine and all your creatine comes from China. As a matter of fact, there was a point in time when Creapure had trouble keeping up with production. And I was told by someone who worked there that they had Chinese creatine available. They were actually making it in China. That was maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago or something. So there you go.
Right. Well, and I guess if we want to just throw a little more gas on this fire to put this thing to bed, I have the documentation saved and you have it too, is around the same time that this thing came out, around 2011, 2012, that same company who happened to sponsor this was getting ready to release what? A buffered creatine product. And actually, if you read the verbiage in there, it sounded like they just basically copied off of our websites, essentially what we would say about stability of creatine. And that sort of, it was all in their literature. They were going to launch it into the US, had European patents, which you got revoked. And that never saw the light of day here, but I've still got all the data, sheets, everything saved right here on my computer with their logos on it. I got it straight from them and their websites.
Well, it is. And,
it's kind of disappeared.
It is. And, they tried a couple times in Europe under a couple different brands and it died. And then, that was when we had the gag order. And they were going to release it. And it's kind of funny because we have screenshots from their website starting from day one saying that our creatine does not convert to creatinine. Then pretty soon they went and kind of loosened up and said, well, all other creatine converts to creatinine, not ours. Then they said, oh, yes, well, ours is stable as a powder, but when it hits solution, it doesn't convert. And, and again, everybody wants to debate the conversion time, but at the end of the day, it's not stable. And I don't care whether you get 1 milligram or, 10 grams, creatinine is a bile waste. It's what causes all those nasty side effects that nobody wants from creatine. We have never once said that creatine monohydrate does not work. We said it is the only form of creatine you should use. Correct. Don't use HCl and AKG and the one CEE and the one that you made up, that GACIC or whatever. But it has a flaw. It's not stable. We fixed the flaw. So it's like going from a VHS movie, if you guys remember VHS, those movies going onto a DVD and then a DVD to a Blu-ray. It still works, but you got all these flaws and side effects. I did a video once several years ago, kind of used the analogy of cell phones. I had all my old cell phones and I had the old brick and the flip phones. And it's like, these still work, but you go ahead and use these if you want, but I'm going to use my new iPhone. And even now I would not use my iPhone 3. Still works. I'm using my 10 or 11, whatever I have, because again, the technology is better. They continually fix flaws where that's what we did. We just fixed the flaw of creatine monohydrate, and people could not stand that some no-name guy out of Billings, Montana was the one that figured it out, where the top people in the world have been trying for years to do so, and they did not. Right. A friend of mine, Bob Fritz, very well-known researcher, he made all of the muscle milk formulas. He did Twin Lab. He worked for NASA. And he was the first one to come to me when he saw the patents and basically said, daggone it, man, you did it. Congratulations. He goes, me and everybody else. I mean, all these people have been trying to do this. And I want to be the first to congratulate you, where all the other little armchair quarterbacks, all they wanted to do was, try to debunk it and, talk smack. But again, opinions are cheap. The KreAlkalyn is still going strong. I mean, we produce, about 10 million of those little purple caps a month. And, I've used it for 22 years. Again, I knew about it long before I released it, and I continue to use it. And there is no better technology to this day, for creatine.
Right. Totally agree. Well, again, obviously on here live in front of the world, we're not afraid to bring this up ourselves.
Right.
People that maybe have never even seen it, but I'm telling you, go look for the article and read for yourself. The key now is that you know the backstory behind why this says what it does, because I guess they've done a good job with search engine where you search, for Kre-Alkalyn, and this will pop up potentially somewhere in there. And there's always some smart guy that comes out of left field and, oh yeah, well, what about this? Like we've never seen it before. And this is like the millionth time. So we're just doing it ourselves and preempting everyone. Go look for it, read it, do your own research. If you have any more questions, I'd love to hear some feedback on this. What do you think?
Yeah,
and we're full of it. I'm just showing you the evidence.
Yeah, and go to allamericanpharmaceutical.com and look under Kre-Alkalyn and look at all of our published research. Again, I have a lot of in-house research I've done, and that's kind of what this study. This is an in-house research. When you pay to have something done, it's really in-house. It was to promote your product. The in-house research we did is good, but people go, oh, it wasn't peer reviewed. Then when we peer reviewed and published, oh, they had nothing to say.
Yeah, it was never good enough.
No, it was never good enough. I mean, one, then we did two, then we did three, four, however many we did. And again, I want to say something is that, we're not talking bad about any of these people. We're just presenting facts. There's facts and then there's facts. Mark Talon, I don't know what the dude's doing. He's in the UK, but the fact is he cheated. He lost a $9-point-some million lawsuit. There's a reason why global patent offices have granted Kre-Alkalyn patents, and the international ones are a lot harder to get. As a matter of fact, we were pending in Canada for almost 7 years, because that's how long it took them to make sure that this was legit. It worked. No one had ever done anything like it. So again, you look at all the patents around the world on Kre-Alkalyn, that speaks for itself. It's hard to get a patent if you haven't actually invented something and you can't prove that prove with legitimate research that you can substantiate the claims that you're making in that patent.
Right. That's exactly right. Actually, here, real quick, watch this. I just remembered. So this is the Merck Index.
Ah, yeah.
This has got pretty much every known compound ingredient on the planet, and it's a scientific reference. So if you're into biochemistry, you're a chemist, all kinds of fields in the STEM category, they're going to use this book as their Bible. This is their holy Bible. And right in here, if you look up creatine and creatinine, it flat out says that creatine will turn into creatinine. It says it is unstable. And then we've had people tell us this was wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is the, we always say the Bible of chemistry. I mean, but it's like anything. People can give their opinions and say the Bible's wrong, the Declaration of Independence is wrong, any official document is wrong. And again, that's your opinion. You're well open to it. Yeah. But
here it is right here.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, right there.
Creatine. Let's see. Creatinine is like that next paragraph up. I mean, here's what it looks like on the inside. You can read this for yourself. It flat out says what we're sitting here telling you and what these stupid studies don't know.
So after, I don't know, what have we been dealing in creatine now for 30 some years? I mean, I am an expert on creatines. I synthesize it. I synthesize creatine monohydrate. We weren't the first to do it in the USA, because at first I contracted Fansteel Labs to start producing years and years ago, long before EAS for Cow Farm, and then under a lot of different private label brands, including Marathon Nutrition and All American Nutrition, one of our brands. So again, we've been working with it for a long, long, long time.
Sure.
And that's it. That's the facts.
Yeah.
Hopefully don't like it.
Well, and I'm sure there's people that are going to see this and think, oh, those guys are lying. They just want to sell more product, whatever. Well, number one, we're a business, so sure, why not?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, do your own research, do your own facts. Beyond, if there's one thing I've learned in life, this too, there's always two sides to every story. Well, this is the other side that you get to see beyond these silly studies and what these armchair experts and industry experts keep saying. I just want to use the best as the best.
And if you are an athlete, as I have said since day one when I got into this industry, Don't take my word for it. Try it.
Yes.
I mean, if you're an athlete like me, you're in tune with your body. I know what works and what doesn't. Try it. Oh, and you're going to go, oh, that's a way for you to sell more product. No, I'm saying email me, Dr. J, DRJ at ALLAMPH.com. I'll send you a sample for free. That's how confident I am. I'll give you a little info on it. Take it for a test drive. Now, if you're a chemist, go test it. You know, get the Jaffe reaction. You can get it from Sigma Labs and do like all the hospitals do and run the conversion yourself and find out that creatine is not stable.
Right.
I mean,
well, I don't know much more we can say at this point. I probably should let you get going and back to their lives and ask for that sample or go to wherever they're going to buy the Kre-Alkalyn from, but we could give a money back guarantee on top of it. But all that is to say is hopefully, finally, this puts it to bed.
I hope so. Probably not. But at the end of the day, you know, at least some people who watch this will get the truth and get the background to how we even got to that stage.
Yep.
You know, it's all about jealousy. It's all about taking market share. And, you know, the creatine guys, Crepure guys didn't like it. They weren't the first, but they took over Europe and tried to come here. And, you know, when KreAlkalyn took off, they didn't like it. So they tried their darndest. And again, it didn't work. You know, things always float around the internet forever, but at the end of the day, it didn't hurt KreAlkalyn. Most people, well, I would say most all, you know, creatine users or KreAlkalyn users, you know, didn't believe it, tried it for themselves and did their own research.
Yep. And we've seen it over and over and over. People try it and there's like, I don't know, there's just something different about him. We're like, oh, really? Anyway, all right. Well, I'll go ahead and let you go. And
all right.
Off, but do your research, get a sample, try it for yourself. What else can we do?
That's about it.
All right. Well, on that note, I'll let's get back to creating some other cool stuff.
Oh, I got some nasty stuff I'm working on today.
Oh, I like nasty.
Yeah. All right.
All right, man.
Man.